What's going on YouTube? Today we got another locals deck profile, and today we're talking about the deck that I went 3-0-1 with at locals, which is Dinomorphia Control. I decided to roll a die and figure out what deck I was going to play for the tournament, and the die rolled it unanimously on 2 6s for Dinomorphia. It's a very fun deck. I typically like the combo variant more so than the control variant, but I couldn't find my combo pieces. I kind of just left them at home. So we played control. And it was a lot of fun. I will say, the extra deck is only 15 cards, or 14 cards rather, not 15 because I was a goober and miscounted, but it didn't really matter. But other than that, the deck performed very well. It does help that I won every die roll, and I know you could be like, oh wow, if you win the die roll, you should be in a better spot no matter what. But since this is a trap deck, it mattered even more so. Before we get started, I'd like to thank everybody for the continued support even while I'm not uploading. Sometimes I just lose the motivation to upload due to personal changes in life and just, things like that. But I do want to upload at least once a week, and get content out there. And I really want to profile decks like this that just aren't represented very often because they're rogue or just not considered good, and show that pretty much anybody can win with the right deck building. So yeah, we're going to get into it. I will describe what some of these cards do, but I feel like most people know what they are if they're here looking at the profile, unless they're subscribers and just watch the videos because they enjoy my content. So the 3 Therizia and 3 Diplos to start. So Therizia is the main piece of the deck, so we're going to go and put her up here. So Therizia and Diplos share a unique effect, or share an effect that whenever they are destroyed by battle or card effect, you could banish a trap from your grave to special summon level 4 lower Dinomorphia except their own name. So the reason that's really good is because these guys can just like float down into each other a lot, especially when your traps are just dead and redundant. And you can banish non-Dinomorphia traps, obviously, like Strike and Infinite Impermanence. So they are able to recur themselves and float. They work really well with certain cards you'll see in the deck, but Therizia is the most important. She sets a Dinomorphia trap directly from the spell and trap zone, and then if your life points are low, she gains a 500 attack, which that secondary effect never comes up, but the fact that you directly set it from your deck to a spell and trap zone is very important. And then Diplos foolishes any Dinomorphia on summon, and then if your life points are below 2,000, I believe he burns, but yeah, he burns for 5. So again, the secondary conditions to their effects are never going to come up, but these are the main ones you have to play. You have to play all 6, unfortunately, because these are the only 2 monsters. And the token counter trap is just not playable card. So yeah, the 6 Dinomorphias. We're playing 2 Ultimate Conductor Tyrannos. The mismatched rarity, I know, it's bothersome, but I also kind of wanted to do it to tilt my friend Jacob if I ever summoned it or played against him, but he's been avoiding me. Conductor is the boss monster. That's not Destroyer Phoenix. There's no way to search him in this deck. We're kind of just hoping to draw him. So the inspiration for this deck was to take back to traditional Yu-Gi-Oh, where you're just kind of trying to draw your boss monsters. Even though going forward, I'd probably just play a third one of this, or like an Overraptor, or just some way to get to it, because the dinosaur cards all also search these. So I don't know. I never actually had an issue with drawing Conductor. I think I drew pretty much every single match I played. So yeah, 2 Conductor. And then this is an interesting one, was this Misk, and why we're playing it. Obviously on paper you're like, well, you're only playing it because you're playing dinosaurs, you want to protect the Morpheus, but we're only playing 8 dinosaur monsters, because this is the last of the monsters that are relevant, I should say. So we're really only playing 8 dinosaurs. So the idea for playing Misk was that it was originally a Called by the Grave, but Called by the Grave doesn't protect from the effects that I care most about. For example, Therizia, you can't Ash her. You can Veiler and Imperm her, and that's it. And Called by doesn't hit Imperm, so I wanted a card that protected from both Veiler and Imperm that was also an unsearchable one of. But I eventually added Fossil Digs to the deck, so now this became a searchable Called by the Grave. and it performed extremely well. It protects Conductor. You can technically summon one of the guys from the deck. It's very unlikely you'll do that, but there's also a level 4 that if you don't need the protection effect, you can use it as level 4 to make some of your XC plays. So it made more sense to play that over Called By. Theory worked out in practice, but I don't know how well it's going to work out in the future because this might have just been like a one-shot thing that I play. Yeah, Misk was over the Called By for those reasons. It's a searchable Called By that protects specifically against the cards that Called By can't hit. It can also protect you on things like Lightning Storm or Regeki or anything like that on your opponent's turn. So like, it's kind of crazy. I didn't really need to explain Misk, but when you see Misk in other decks, it's usually with a bunch of other dinosaurs, so I felt like I had to explain it a little bit. And then we are playing Destroyer, Phoenix, so we're on the Celestial, Dasher, and Fusion Destinies. I originally wanted to fit Dragoon in this slot, because you kind of need this boss monster, but the way I decided to construct the deck, as you'll see in the traps, is I wanted to choke my opponent out by limiting their summons and limiting what they can summon. And I figured Destroyer Phoenix is obviously significantly better at that because you can control the board state much better, and it fits with some of the other cards I'm playing in the deck. So that's why I decided to play them. And plus I'm playing a pretty spicy rank 4 in the extra deck that can allow me to have multiple DPEs along with side deck cards. So yeah. I wanted to, I guess I can get into that when I get to the extra deck, but this was very good. This definitely performed better than what Dragoon would have performed just based on when I saw Fusion Destiny and how it worked during the game. So I'm very glad I played Destiny. For spells, we're playing 6. We got, well, 8 if you count the Destinies. We got 3 Dig and 3 Duality. So Fossil Dig, just quick explanation, it just umps your count of Dinomorphia as you're playing so little of them that you have to just see as many as you can. This turns all of them into, you have 6 of each Dinomorphia, which is really realistically just 6 Therizia, and then it can also get Misk for your super Called By. So yeah, that was the reasoning for that. And the big theory idea for playing Pot of Duality is this card is 50 cents and Pot of Prosperity is $130 right now. But yeah, if I had more money, then the theory would have been overruled and I would have played Prosperity. You don't really conflict too much, in all seriousness, with it. A lot of your plays are normal summon Therizia or normal summon Diplos and set a couple cards pass. The only time this conflicts is with Fusion Destiny, and you pretty much always just Fusion Destiny anyway. Your deck doesn't have any like major Ash targets except for Domain. So on your turn, when people don't know how to play against this deck because they're unfamiliar, they'll just hit a consistency card like this. And I don't know why, but it is feasible that they'll do that once they learn that the deck can't really be ashed outside of Domain. So you can always bait, or you can ask Fusion Destiny, and then if they ash the Fusion Destiny, you can activate this, and vice versa. So it made sense to play this. I wasn't going to play Extravagance mainly because my extra deck, while it was only 14 cards and should have been 15, and it was vastly non-needed, it is technically very important that I keep specific pieces, and I didn't want to buy 2 more DPEs to ensure that I was going to keep them in the extra deck. So that was the idea behind that. The main theory behind it was Prosperity is $360 for a playset. For the traps, we got 3 Domain. This is the Shadal fusion of the deck. All the traps have the condition that you have to pay half your life points to activate as a precursor. 3 Domain, 3 Brute. Brute is to non-target destroy a Dinomorphia I control and a card my opponent controls, again by paying life points. 2 Sonic, and then 1 Alert. So for the other part of each of these cards' effects, well, Alert is a soul charge for up to level 8 of Dinomorphia, so usually just Diplos and Therizia, and then you can't special summon for the rest of the turn except for Morpheus, which is fine. It also has the caveat they can't declare an attack that turn, which is also fine. Most of the time you'll activate it during your opponent's turn just to summon back 2 dudes, and then you'll make those into Anaconda or something else in the extra deck that you'll see later. But all the normal traps have the effect to banish themselves and prevent effect damage, and then the counter traps have the effect to banish themselves to prevent battle damage, and the counter trap negates spell and trap effect activations. So yeah. For the other cards, we're on 3 Infinite Impermanence, 3 Solemn Strike, 3 Summon Limit, and then 3 Gozen. So like I said, the theme that I decided to go for the deck was to limit my opponent on what they can summon, and control what they can summon. And the entire deck is dark on my side, except for Conductor, so it was never a confliction. And then for the rest of it, I just use Destroyer Phoenix to simplify the game to the point where I can just make a Ketragina that has 3,500 attack, make a second one, and kill him. So it worked pretty well. It was pretty fun. I didn't get to do any crazy stuff with it, but in theory it's really good. And now on to my extra. We got 3 Ketragina. This is the most important extra deck monster other than the DPE. It gains, or loses, sorry, attack points equal to my life points. So in order to make it, it's going to be a 0 attack monster because I have to pay at least half of 8,000. So, and then during the main phase, quick effect, you can banish a Dinomorphia trap to copy its effect as her effect. So that's really powerful in the sense that you can activate Domain, summon her. When you get priority back on the summon, you can activate her effect again to make another Ketragina, or you can use it to make a Brute, or you can, there's a lot of cool things you could do. And then when she's destroyed, she just floats down into level 4 or lower, which is crazy. And then we got the 1 Stealth Bergia. This card kind of sucks, if we're going to be honest. But I decided to play it for the sole fact that you can help speed the game up in your favor by burning your opponent. It can float, and when it comes to a certain point where you can't activate cards like Solemn Strike, and it's nice to not having to pay those costs, but otherwise it's really just here as a float down and as a monster that's kind of just like here. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I probably wouldn't play this going forward until Rexstrom, the new guy, comes out. Yeah, 1 Destroyer. Not much to say. I kind of wish I played 2, and that's because I'm playing a specific side deck card, and I'm playing a specific extra deck monster that would really benefit from playing 2 of this card. So I really wish I played 2. So now we're going to get into the part where you can tell what my side deck card is. And if you haven't guessed it, these are all Super Poly targets. I never made any of them. I never had the chance to. But in theory, these check most of the decks that you're playing. I do wish I played a little bit more of a diversification in these 2, but I don't know what they would have been. It's just they're kind of redundant. But I don't know what I could have played over them, so it didn't really matter. But in a scenario where I don't build my deck at 10 minutes until the tournament start, I should fix that. 1 Logia, 1 Dalka. You'll pretty much never make these. They're just kind of here to look cool. This is the spice I've been referring to through half of this video, is Dugaris. The fact that you can reborn things like your own DPE, or you can revive your Celestial or Dasher, and then super poly your opponent's DPE away is kind of crazy. And I really like this card. That is pretty much it in terms of the spice. Sorry to disappoint if you're expecting something more. But we also got another way to do it with Dark, because my entire deck is Dark except for Conductor and Misk. Weird. And then Anaconda. It's actually pretty funny with Anaconda. The deck requires you to pay in halves, so if you activate 2 Dinomorphia effects before you get to Anaconda, you actually can't resolve Anaconda. which in my opinion is hilarious. But he's in here just in the chance that you don't get to resolve too many of their effects, which is possible. Or if you take damage and then start having, you can get to the weird point of math where you can activate Anaconda. He's just kind of here, like I said, and he's probably actually never going to make it. For the side was actually pretty good for a side thrown together in 2 minutes because I left other cards at home. 3 Lancia, because this deck actually can't beat Flu once they get to a certain point in the game. And, yeah. Flu's pretty annoying. And then 3 Token Collector, because this deck also can't beat the based pile Rite of Armistier decks. So we're playing as many cards as we can to out them. The MVP of Super Poly, that was MVP at the regional I played last week, or 2 weeks ago now, whenever I was playing Invoked. Decided to transition into this because I liked it so much in that deck. And this was the card that stayed in the side deck the most. But in theory, would have been really good if I played the right matchups. 3 Evenly. This is pretty good. I think this is definitively better than Lightning Storm now in the current meta, just due to how prevalent Brave is, or Adventure, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty good. You make them stick with the token if you can negate the Griffin, or you can bait the Griffin by other cards. So I highly recommend playing Evenly if you have them. It's very good. I sided it in all the time. There's even a time where I sided it going first, because I just expected to get blown out by back row hate, and I did. Then I activated Evenly on my opponent's battle phase because they couldn't kill me. That was neat. And then 3 Judgment for my going first cards. Technically, the hand traps are also going first cards. You just cut some of the redundant effects that you don't really need, or destroy your Phoenix engine entirely, and you just play this. This is pretty good. This is only to negate Lightning Storm and Duster, Reboot, you know, the typical stuff. Never actually activated it, but in theory, you know. That's it for the deck profile, guys. Like I said, this is a fun deck that I've had together for a while. Never got the chance to play it. Decided to roll the die and see if I would have gotten it, and the dice decided unanimously that I was going to play Dinomorphia. So that's it for the deck profile. It's pretty long. Thanks for watching. Remember to comment, rate, subscribe, and we'll be back with more content probably in a couple days. Thanks for watching. Peace, YouTube.